since Maximus and I were alone and my parents weren't home. It was a calm day. My eyes went glassy as I sat on the couch and watched a comedy on TV. The surroundings were so serene that I nearly forgot about everything but the pictures that were flashing before me. Maximus suddenly sprung to his feet, his eyes glimmering with an odd expression as though he had just come to a significant realization. Without a word, he hurried to the door and shut it with a gentle click. I was still pondering when he turned and came running over to me. Before I could react, I couldn't describe the intense passion that filled his eyes. Maximus leaped on me. Time seemed to slow down, and everything felt tight. I was in a state of shock, and everything seemed to be rushing past me. Whatever was going on, I knew it would permanently alter my life. In addition to watching this video through to the end and liking it, please subscribe to my channel so that I may continue to share more amazing, genuine tales like this one with you. This story is going to be really intriguing. To demonstrate your support, kindly click the like button. Hello, I'm IA Carter, and I just turned 18. With my tiny family, I have a happy life. My parents show me a lot of love and care because I'm the only kid. They consistently support my hobbies and give me the greatest things. Taking care of pets, especially gorgeous dogs, is one of my greatest hobbies. I fell in love with dogs when I was 14. My parents finally agreed when I requested if I could have a dog. And one day they took me to a dog farm to select a puppy. I used to watch a lot of animal-related TV shows and was always enthralled by the images of devoted, gorgeous dogs. When I first arrived, the sound of the puppies in their kennels was overwhelming. But one dog immediately drew my attention. It was a Great Dane, with soft eyes, smooth fur, and a tall, striking build. Although Great Danes are known to be big dogs, I felt a special connection with him right away, and I immediately decided that he would be my new friend. My parents were taken aback by my decision, and they were concerned that caring for a dog of that size would be challenging. But I persuaded them that I would be able to handle him. We named him Maximus and brought him home. The first few days with Maximus were unforgettable. He was intelligent, quickly picked up commands like sit, stand, and wait, and we became close, spending a lot of time together, whether playing on the floor or going for walks in the park. Maximus developed swiftly into a large, amiable, and devoted dog who, to me, was more than simply a pet. He was a member of the family. Maximus was always there to comfort me when I felt anxious or down. He showed me the deep bond that exists between people and animals. Because of him, I learned to be patient, responsible, and to appreciate the little things in life. I believe that everyone deserves a friend like Maximus. Someone who will love you without conditions and never leave you. I always imagined that Maximus and I would be together forever and live a happy life. But then something happened on my 18th birthday that changed everything. That Sunday morning was beautiful as usual. Maximus and I went for a walk in the park near our home. He loved these walks, running around, enjoying the fresh air, and sometimes stopping to watch birds or smell the flowers. Seeing Maximus happy always made me smile. But that day was different. As we were walking, Maximus suddenly changed. He stopped. His ears perked up, and his gaze was focused on a distant dog with a beautiful golden coat and an elegant walk. It was another female Great Dane. Something seemed to pull Maximus toward her, and as soon as he noticed her, he started running toward the dog. His legs moved so quickly that I couldn't keep up. He was too strong for me to stop the leash from falling off his neck. Even though I shouted loudly, it didn't seem like Maximus heard me, and I nearly collapsed as he pulled me along. He simply darted towards the other dog, seemingly captivated by his attraction. My heart was pounding frantically, and I had no idea what to do. Maximus, stop, I yelled. My yell shocked Maximus, who turned to face me with a bewildered, apologetic expression. It was then that I realized Maximus recognized he had offended me. I was forced to gently drag him back home. Even though his ears were drooping and his eyes were mournful, Maximus wasn't acting like himself on the way home. Usually he would run joyfully and wag his tail. But this time he walked behind me in silence. I had an odd feeling. In addition to feeling bad for screaming at Maximus, I also felt sorry for him. I questioned whether our relationship would ever be the same. Maximus slept soundly in the room's corner that night, his eyes dreamy. Perhaps he had the other dog on his mind. I walked over to Maximus, caressed his silky fur, and muttered, "Maximo, I need your attention, but I will always love you no matter what. You get it? Maximus gazed up at me, his eyes bright with comprehension. I grinned in the hopes that our relationship would remain unchanged. As usual, I put Maximus to sleep with a cuddle. I felt secure and at ease because of his regular breathing. But that night something was different. Maximus made a little noise, as though something wasn't right. When I patted his back softly, startled by the sound, I swiftly pulled my hand away. My heart raced even as Maximus remained motionless. It was odd in the gentle glow of the nightlight. I lay motionless, staring at the ceiling, feeling as though I had lost some of my sleep. I had always felt a special connection with Maximus. But tonight was different. My curiosity took over, and I slowly got out of bed to examine the stick. As I touched it, I experienced an odd mixture of anxiety and excitement. It was warm, and Maximus seemed to shudder whenever I touched it. Unusual material emerged and adhered to my hand. I got up and turned to face Maximus, who was still comfortably asleep. That night, I lay down on the bed and gave Maximus a gentle embrace without waking him. I had trouble sleeping. The odd sensation that something new had emerged between Maximus and me was all I could think about. I didn't anticipate connecting with him on a deeper level. As a devoted dog, Maximus was more than simply a pet. I was beginning to realize that he had emotions and habits of his own. I had an unexplainable feeling that night. My pulse was pounding every time I gazed at Maximus, as if a new feeling were growing inside of me. Maximus was now something a lot more profound and special to me than just a dog or a companion. What was occurring to me delighted and perplexed me at the same time. Maximus was now something a lot more profound and special to me than just a dog or a companion. I was both excited and confused by what was happening to me. Maximus appeared to be aware of my transformation as well. Each time I glanced at him, his eyes changed as if he could sense my emotions. Maximus would occasionally catch me looking at him with intense emotion in his eyes. I was unable to fully comprehend. It felt as though our relationship had deepened and was evolving into something much more significant. Maximus and I was sitting in the yard one day as the light broke through the trees, with his head resting on my calf and his eyes half closed in satisfaction. He lay beside me. This time, however, when I reached down to stroke his silky fur, I felt the warmth emanating from him. But it felt different, like an electric current coursing through my body. I held onto him while shivering a little. Maximus's big brown eyes appeared to comprehend something I couldn't quite make out after I stared at him for a while. We seemed to have an underlying bond, but I was unable to articulate it. It was perplexing yet reassuring until one day things began to seem different. My parents' love and laughter broke the odd silence we found ourselves in at home. Maximus was lying next to me, closely observing me. I felt both anxious and delighted because it seemed like something important was about to happen. As I lay back on the couch attempting to unwind while a light movie played on the TV, Maximus seemed to notice the shift in the air and regarded me intently, his normally serene stare now full of expectancy. The only sound in the living room was the ticking of the clock. Maximus put his head on my knee and seemed to be waiting for something. As his eyes gleamed in the screen's light, Maximus sprung to his feet abruptly. His eyes gleamed oddly, as if he had just come to a significant realization. He hurried to the door and shut it with a gentle click without saying a word. He turned around with a ferocious expression in his eyes and hurried at me while I was still trying to comprehend what was happening. Maximus attacked me before I could respond. I was immobile. Time seemed to stop, and everything seemed to be spinning. As I stood, my heart pounded in my chest. The world appeared to blur as I was still overcome by the intense emotional surge and the mounting tension in the room. And all I could think about was the growing bond between Maximus and myself. All of our boundaries were erased by the maelstrom of events that followed. I had no idea why Maximus acted this way or what to do. But I knew it would change my life. A door seemed to have been opened, and from that point on, it was impossible to close. Maximus and I had a peculiar bond that defied explanation. We never discussed it, but I could tell that whenever our gazes locked, we were both considering it, like if there were a secret between us that only we knew. Things seemed different after that, like if we both knew what to do next. Every time we were alone in a room, Maximus began to approach me with strength and care, touching me tenderly as though to declare that I was his and he was mine. Even though it was both thrilling and frightening, I couldn't say that I was totally opposed since I secretly wanted to feel that way. When I was with Maximus, I forgot about anything else. Every time I got close to him, I experienced a rush of feelings that went beyond simple physical contact. It was as if my entire body was reacting to him. My heart pounded, my breathing grew labored, and I lost self-control. Maximus and my intense attraction to him were all that remained after all of my anxieties and thoughts vanished. I used to doubt myself in situations like these, even though I knew my parents would never comprehend or approve of what was going on. I couldn't help but feel that it was wrong. I couldn't get rid of it like an addiction. I continued to hide my actual emotions from my parents by acting like everything was fine, even though I knew in my heart that this couldn't go on forever. I lacked the bravery to stop it. Furthermore, I didn't want to consider the day when everything would be revealed. Day after day, we continued on this path, feeling trapped and unable to escape. I should have been thrilled to learn that I had been admitted to a distant institution. But instead I felt depressed. I knew I would have to go because of this. I made an effort not to think about Maximus, my closest friend, with whom I had strong sentiments in the days leading up to my departure. Every time I looked into Maximus's eyes, I felt as though I was betraying him and the unique relationship we shared. I told myself that moving away would help me forget these sentiments and that beginning a new life would make me feel better. Maximus discreetly followed me the day I went, his melancholy eyes observing me at every turn. When the automobile was set to depart, Maximus seemed to know that things would never be the same, even if my parents helped me pack. I knelt down and gave Maximus a final hug. His fur was still warm, but it felt like I was saying goodbye to a piece of myself that I couldn't let go of. My eyes began to well up with tears, but I tried to contain them in front of my parents as the car began to move. There was a profound sadness in that hug that I couldn't describe. On my way to school, Maximus's eyes were sparkling in the morning light, but they were filled with grief. Instead of running after me, he simply remained there and watched me go. That picture lingered with me like a silent farewell, and it hurt more than words could say. I couldn't stop thinking about Maximus. I pondered all of our shared experiences, secrets, and unique moments, and I questioned whether leaving was the proper decision to put an end to everything or whether it was only the start of an unending desire. Even in this new location, I knew I would miss Maximus, but I wasn't certain he would remember me. I moved on from my emotions and began a new chapter in my life. After thinking back on all Maximus and I had discussed, I understood that relationships and emotions frequently transcend beyond what we anticipate. I was unable to identify undisclosed secrets and a friendship that would never be the same. Beginning when I was a young, impressionable 14 years old, I had spent amazing years with Maximus, a devoted friend who always stood by me. However, that bond also came with complex emotions that taught me some valuable lessons. Firstly, I discovered that love is more than just a feeling, it also involves duty, respect, and realizing that whether we love a person or a pet, love demands attention and responsibility. Emotions that transcend typical bounds might be perplexing, but it's crucial to uphold your morals and recognize what is right. Second, I understand that even the finest relationships occasionally require room to develop. Sometimes being a part of anything helps both humans and animals to develop and live the lives they deserve. It's not about losing something. It's about creating room for personal growth. Leaving Maximus was one of the toughest decisions I've ever had to make. But it was important for me to go on with my life. Maximus will always be a lovely memory from my childhood. I learned how to let go and how to love as I parted ways with him. Growing in the process, I will always remember our friendship. And even though he is no longer with me, I will always cherish and value what we shared. I would advise everyone to appreciate their relationships but also to keep their emotions in check. Life brings many complex feelings, and sometimes they can feel overwhelming. In those moments, take a step back and consider what is truly best for you and the person or animal you care about. Setting boundaries is important to protect both yourself and those around you.